Okay, good evening, folks, and welcome to our late July meeting. And I guess we'll get the show going.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach, held July 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Delury.
Present.
Councilmember Mandel.
Present.
Councilmember Treston.
Here.
Vice President McGinnis.
Present.
President Bendo.
Present.
Let the record indicate the presence of City Manager Donna Gaden and Corporation Counsel Simone Freeman will now have a salute to the flag.
Would our new acting police commissioner please lead us in the pledge?
Sir, I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
The
America
United States of America.
and to the republic for which it stands,
It stands
one nation,
on God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you.
President Bendo, before we get started, we have two items that were proposed to be added by unanimous consent. Can I get a motion from someone to add items 6 and 7 to the agenda?
I'll make the motion to add items 6 and 7 to the agenda.
Who will second?
Second.
I will second the motion for items 6 and 7.
Voting, Councilmember Delury.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay, the items will be posted shortly up on the council webpage. Just for clarity, item 6 is a resolution amending the city's agreement for construction of an Office of Emergency Management and to amend the budget. And item 7 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to renew the city's agreements for disaster management response and recovery consulting services.
Okay, with that, I guess we'll go to the city manager's report.
Good evening, all. Thank you very much. We have been really busy working on the beach policies, procedures, checking the beach, and checking the boardwalk. So what I'd like is Commissioner Ragona to speak first, and then right after him will be Joe Brand, Commissioner Joe Brand.
Thank you, Donna. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for having me here tonight to speak a little about some changes and some modifications which are going to be occurring shortly. There are two major changes that we have going on, and I'll address them separately and explain the reasoning behind it. Firstly, let me talk a little bit about the sale of non-resident daily beach passes. Several weeks back, we had talked about it and came up with a plan to begin selling non-resident daily beach passes in a limited amount of areas. We're of the mindset that the center of town was traditionally out-of-towners coming in, and so we would limit the sale of non-resident daily beach passes from Laurelton to Long Beach Boulevard, those 6 beaches. What we've come to see is that they are reaching capacity early, and it's becoming a bit of an issue. With that, certainly on the weekends more than the weekdays, we felt we were turning away our residents from those beaches because they were capacity, and it was an issue with simply socially distancing those that were on the beaches between Laurelton and Long Beach Boulevard. With that being said, effective this Friday, the 24th of July, non-resident daily beach passes will no longer be sold on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which are the times and the days that we have traditionally become saturated with train crowds, non-residents, and the beaches have reached capacity very early and have become a bit of a safety issue. Monday through Thursday, the non-residents will still be able to purchase their daily passes in those locations, in those limited locations still between Laurelton and Long Beach Boulevard. We have to think of safety, and we have to think of our residents, which obviously is an important matter. The second issue, and the second modification that we've made to some long-standing practices and ordinances in Long Beach are the hours of Beach Park. We've allowed Beach Park to stay open from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. It's been in our Code of Ordinances. It's been in our municipal code. Due to the fact that we have now seen a trend of very large, unruly, disorderly, antisocial, not safely socially distancing groups. Certainly, we've all heard about this Saturday when it really came to a head with 800, 900 young adults, men and women, coming to the beach, drinking, fighting, smoking marijuana, absolutely not safely socially distancing, and it occurs at the night in the evening hours. They've come down to our beach in the center of town traditionally, and created chaos, and we've all seen what happened this last Saturday. In response to that, we felt it was the safest thing to do is to close the beach, not the boardwalk first, but the beach at 8 p.m. It's going to be a big task, but we can do it. At 8 p.m., we'll shut down the beach itself, and we'll do it with police officers. I will be assigning, and I have been assigning, 7 nights a week. I have regular police officers on the beach now. They are augmented by our special police officers. We're also augmented by our beach maintenance and our lifeguards along the beach. Systematically go down the boardwalk on the beach area between Neptune Boulevard and New York Avenue, and we will give a warning around 7:45 p.m. and then we'll circle back, and then by 8 p.m. we will move beach to beach and move the crowds off. The boardwalk itself will not close until 9 p.m. and at that point, specials, my bicycle police officers who I will have up there, just can't be done by specials. We need police officers also, obviously. You need real teeth to it. And that is not meant in any way to be disrespectful to the specials who do a great job. There are certain jobs that you need a police officer at. So we'll have 4 bicycle police officers, 4 or 5 special officers. We'll have the smart car up there. Joe Brand will speak a little bit, but he's going to have his guys on a gator. And we will start off at Edwards Boulevard and again systematically move east and west, telling people that at 9 o'clock that they have to exit the boardwalk, and some people may have to walk a little further east or west to get to where their car is. We will follow them through as we move the group off Edwards, off National, off Riverside, in conjunction with Tommy Canner and his beach maintenance guys. They will then gate off the entrances to the boards, and we'll continue to move down so we get to Neptune and New York Avenue. My feeling is, ultimately, you will have stragglers. It's inevitable. Someone who you didn't get off the beach, someone who's... So we will continue to have the gator and the smart car going back and forth. We will assist. There may be an older couple who need to get off. We will leave Edwards Boulevard ramp open, not gated off, but we will have a security officer stationed there, not allowing anybody else on, but it will be an egress, an area for people on the boardwalk to get off if necessary. It is absolutely a work in progress. I think we have a really good plan. We have been speaking almost ad nauseum between the city manager, myself, Joe Brand, Tommy Canna. We are all on the same page. I believe most of us will be there at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I know I will on Thursday night to see how we kick this off. It's necessary. It's really important. And if we don't do this now, I really believe there could be dire consequences down the road. So some people think it's drastic. I don't. I think it's necessary. And I just want to note one more thing, which just came to light today, and I'm not sure if everybody's in the loop. You may be. We've been advised that the foundation block, which is between Edwards Boulevard and Riverside Boulevard, I guess, the dirt lot, which is a privately owned lot, and the owner has graciously, for many, many years, allowed us to park, cars to park there, and they park at their own risk. It's a private lot. We found out today that no longer will be available to us, and that lot will be effective immediately shut down to motor vehicles parking. I have already spoke to my sign shop. They're in the process, as we speak, of fabricating signage, which will go around the entire area from Edwards down East Broadway and back again south on Riverside, indicating the same. There's an issue with towing the cars. It is private property. When we do get an authorization from the owner of that property, that he gives us authority to tow, then it'll give us a little teeth to take cars out of there. But the signage stating that it's private property, no parking, LBPD, will go up. It might not be a terrible thing right now for us with us avoiding cars coming to the center of town, but it may be an issue down the road moving forward to next season, and it's something we should be aware of. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Do any of you have questions for me in regards to our enforcement, how we're going to implement this policy? Yes, no?
Hi, this is Liz. I just wanted to thank you and everyone at the department for your extremely professional and hard work over the weekend and the days that you have taken over this position.
That's very gracious, Liz. Thank you. It's truly, I know this may sound corny. I've worked here 34 years. It's my honor and my pleasure, and I am proud to be able to lead the department during these times and the trying times. And it's certainly no time for on-the-job training here. So I believe the institutional knowledge is important, and I'm very proud of the officers and specials in the whole department. And thank you for your kind words.
Okay, are there any other questions from the council? Okay, back to our city manager. Is there more, you have more to your report?
Yes, Mr. Brand?
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to begin just by addressing some of the stuff that's happening at the rec first, before I piggyback some of the stuff that went on over the weekend with the Ocean Beach Park, and to kind of pick up where Phil left off. At the rec, as we speak, the Men's League Softball has begun. Looking forward, the municipal pool will open on August 3rd. That's a week from Monday. A kids baseball program will begin that same day. The ice arena has secured the contract to have the ice reapplied the weekend of August 1st. Effective tomorrow, the sprinkler park hours are going to be extended thanks to this oppressive heat. And lastly, we've recently secured community development and economic development funding thanks to Patty Bourne. That funding's earmarked specifically for senior programming to be done virtually out of two separate places, one out of the senior center and the other out of MLK. So thank you, Patty, for putting that together and allowing us the opportunity to help an area of our community that could certainly use some activity in their life. Picking up again where Phil left off. Again, this weekend, our neighbors from the east, Jones Beach, Town of Hempstead, Nassau County, shut down all of their operations with the beaches by 10 a.m. We were inundated on Saturday. We were able to pretty much stave off most of the crowd till real late in the day Saturday, and we kind of survived and got through the day. Sunday, we weren't quite as lucky. The crowds arrived much earlier, arrived much heavier, and when it was decided upon by police personnel, beach park personnel, and lifeguard personnel that it was time to shut the beaches down in the center of town. It was about 1 p.m. We made the decision to shut it down, and the only mechanism that we have in place is to just stop selling passes. We got on the end of lines, instructed the people that were coming up that passes were no longer to be sold after this point. It didn't work out that great. The crowd arriving late in the day, as Phil alluded to earlier, was unruly. Most had ill intentions, and several of our entrances in the center of town had to be safeguarded by our police department. So, moving forward, the city was very upfront and clear with our plans to open the beaches earlier this season. If there was a problem with people playing by the rules or we needed to revisit crowding and compliance issue, there was always going to be the possibility that we would again restrict access to residents only. So as Phil just said, effective this Friday, residents may purchase beach passes between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. 7 days a week only at the trailer located at 300 West Broadway on the corner of Laurelton Boulevard. Non-residents may purchase daily beach passes Monday through Thursday at the same 6 locations that we've been selling them at since the start of the non-resident pass sales: Long Beach Road, Riverside Boulevard, Edwards Boulevard, National Boulevard, Magnolia, and Laurelton. Non-resident daily passes will be punched the day they are purchased. There won't be advanced sales of passes that can be used at later dates. So you buy a pass, you buy them one at a time, it gets punched for the day of purchase. It's not going to be able to stockpile passes to use them over the weekends. Moving further with the beach, we just recently received permission from the health department to reactivate the showers on the beach. I had a conversation just a few minutes ago with beach maintenance superintendent Tommy Canner. He'll begin work immediately on the lines and the fixtures and probably have them all taken care of and ready to go within a week. That's where we are at the beach. I would like to share a text message that I got yesterday morning. It was very nice. Good morning, Joe. I just wanted to let you know what a great job the Long Beach lifeguards did after hours on Sunday night. Myself and a couple of other guys were on the beach and in the water once 2 swimmers had gone into distress. Had the lifeguards not shown up, the outcome could easily have been very different. Those young men and women are fantastic, professional, and excellently trained. They should be thanked for their tremendous effort. I'm going to publicly thank them. I know Donna and the council have done so over and over again, but Sunday night, the water conditions turned drastically in a real short period of time. With the amount of people we had on the beach Sunday night, I'm not going to speak specifically, but I know there were upwards of 20 rescues, life-threatening rescues, after 6 p.m. on Sunday night. That all goes into this decisions that we all came up with this week to scale things back a bit and kind of take our beach back and get things normalcy restored here. So that's where we're at, guys.
Okay, Commissioner Phil Regona needs to step back in for a minute to say something.
I meant to mention one other thing, which is an important issue. We've seen a proliferation of the beach passes being passed off. Season pass holders, someone getting a bunch of them, going back out to the beach, and this is occurred forever, but I think it's the magnitude that we haven't seen in the past. So what we're doing now is really, truly intense beach sweeps. We have our specials going beach to beach and checking from the west to the east, certainly on the weekends, all beach passes. And what we're doing is when we see that you don't have a pass, at this point, we're trying to open up the west end and the center beaches and east end beaches. So we're getting these people off the beach who don't have a pass. Some are getting summonses, some are being escorted off quickly so we can open the beach again. But the sweeps of the beaches are a priority. It's something we know has to be done. We see it as a big issue. And the specials know it's a priority to go out and go to all the different groups, especially beaches in the West End, which are a real problem, like Minnesota or Maryland, the center of town. Edwards East and West, and certainly the East End Neptune East. So we're out there. They are focusing and concentrating on going through the groups and making sure everybody has a pass. It's probably more prevalent now than I've ever seen, and it certainly is a priority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The only thing that I have to add to that, we have truly been working hard. We are currently putting together a crisis team here in Long Beach. We have a crisis team, which is a psychologist and a minister and a doctor that comes out of Nassau County. But with so many saves and with at times life lost, it's very important that our staff has someone to talk to right away. And so we are now currently working to get that crisis team put together here in Long Beach so our response time is quicker for that team to be put in place. And that's the end of my report.
President Bendo, can I share with you my weekend?
If you'd like, sure.
I witnessed firsthand the large crowds gathered on the beach on Saturday and Sunday evenings. On both nights, there were hundreds of people on the beach with no social distancing. In addition to the large crowds on Sunday evening, the lifeguards had to make numerous rescues. I personally went down to the ocean on Sunday night around 7:30 p.m. to tell a group of swimmers how dangerous it was to be in the ocean so close to the jetties, and this was on New York Avenue. At the same time, I noticed a helicopter circling the beach around Long Beach, what I thought was Long Beach Boulevard. When I arrived at Long Beach Road, there were multiple rescues going on. City Manager Donna Gaden was on the scene in a vehicle with Chief Gillespie. Acting Police Commissioner Ragoner, as far as I understand it, was at the emergency room to check on one of the swimmers who required medical treatment. All in all, there were approximately or over 20 lifeguards working after 6 p.m., multiple police vehicles on the beach, including special police officers. Therefore, as a result, I fully support the decision to close the beach at 8 p.m. and the boardwalk at 9 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I guess it's an interesting story that might give people a little bit of an indication of what some of our first responders down on the beach are dealing with after hours and on the weekends. A woman was going into the water after the lifeguards were off duty. There were some of the lifeguards were still on the beach. They hadn't totally cleared off yet. And they told her not to go into the water. And the woman proceeded to throw about every four-letter word there was in the book at them, telling them it was none of their damn business. She could do whatever she wanted. 10 minutes later, that woman had to be rescued because she would have drowned. So that's what these people are dealing with. And it's time to bring some semblance of order back. I get it. People are slap happy. They've been cooped up. Everybody's tired of the coronavirus stuff, but it's been getting a little out of hand. So with that, Donna, do we have any other reports we need to get, or?
No, not tonight.
Okay, so with that, I guess we can move on to the agenda.
Okay, item 1 is approval of minutes from prior meeting of July 8th, 2020. Item 2 is a resolution adopting the city fund balance policy.
Okay, city manager, anybody going to speak on that? Or?
Ina's on the call.
Sure. Good evening. I would like to answer any questions that you might have on the policy, the fund balance policy, and the investment policy. It's the goal of this administration to create a fiscal policies manual that will contain all the financial policies of the city. these two policies will become the first two policies of that manual. And we are also, I'd like to mention that we're also running our, once we prepare the policies, we run them by the consultants of the CMA so they could review and share best practices with us and give us some suggestions on whatever they see would be a more streamlined process, as they see a lot of different municipalities and governments and their policies.
Okay, thank you, Ina. Are there any questions from the council members?
I just have a quick comment and a question. Ina, I'd like to thank you for putting this together. This is this and the investment policy is a great start of something that should have been done a long time ago. I'd like to, I'd like to make sure that, if possible, these policies could be put on the website somehow, the city website.
They are all of our policies. Once you update them and put on them, they will be put on the website.
Great. And then I noticed bullet 5 on the replenishment. I just asked that you, it talks about the unassigned fund balance falling below a certain level and how we have to try to keep it, get it higher each year. So I hold you responsible to make sure you keep us to our word to follow that policy and to build that fund balance again so it doesn't disappear. And that on the last point, it says that it will be reviewed on an annual basis by the city council. I'd like to sort of memorialize that be in a January or a July meeting so that we can actually have some impact on making sure that we build up the fund balance again. Is that possible?
Absolutely. We'll make sure that it's on the calendar for next July, along with any other policies that will be implemented and will need an annual review.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
City Controller Resnick, this is Mike Delory.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for all your hard work. I'm just going to read in the fund balance that it just says, both the Office of the New York State Controller and the Government Finance Officers Association recommend that local governments establish a policy to maintain reasonable levels of unexpended, funds and so on and so forth. And this policy would be generally applied to all of the funds, such as like the water and sewer as well.
Yes, general water and sewer, all operating funds.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so this is just the latest step that's being taken to get the house in order and get things back operating smoothly and in a more transparent manner. So, hearing no further questions, did we get from the council? Did we get any questions from the public on this?
Yes, we got one question from Roy Lester. On item number 2, you're I presume that's adopting a city fund balance policy with no numbers, no historical perspective, no percentages other than having to do with the unassigned fund balance, and basically a complete lack of transparency with regards to the amount in these funds now and historically and how they relate to our budget. Prior to voting, I think it's necessary that those numbers be disclosed to the public. I have the response from Ina when I reached out to her earlier today, so I'll read that off. And if she wants to add anything to it, she can feel free. With regard to adopting a fund balance with no numbers, the policy that's being discussed tonight recommends a level of unassigned fund balance of 5% of the normal prior year expenditures made from its general water and sewer funds. The number is obviously going to change from year to year based on the changed prior year expenditures made from those funds. However, the policy will remain applicable and universal from year to year since it's expressed as a percentage. It's really 5 years of the prior, 5% of 5 years of the 5% of the prior year's expenditure is how it is. With respect to no historical perspective, this is a policy and it's based on best practices and national standards by bodies that set them, and is always expressed as a percentage of the prior year's expenditures. So the historical perspective, we're not really sure how that applies. Lack of transparency with the amount of the funds, historically how low they are relative to our budget prior to the vote. The fund balance, I think it's been discussed extensively, especially through the budget process, but it's also, since we are just taking a percentage of prior year's expenditure, just take 5% of what the audited financials are from the prior year and you have your numbers. So it's just a simple calculation, and those numbers are readily available. I don't know if Ina wants to add anything to that.
I do. Also, the audited financials are on the website.
I would just add that the institution of a policy is actually the tool by which the city council can hold the administration accountable so that we can actually fulfill our fiduciary responsibilities. So the policy is the roadmap of how we're going to stay within the guidelines, and the 5% is widely recommended by New York State and other municipalities across the country. So this is exactly what we need.
Right, and as far as I remember, a lot of the information that City Manager Gayton and the controller had put forth, it's been in multiple areas, and I could just recite off the top of my head, roughly, I believe, 80 to 85 million times 5% is roughly 4 million, and I believe that in this last fiscal period, we were below $1 million and probably much less, and therefore, we were starting off the year way underfunded, and it's not. This administration, his goal is to get policies like this out there, so we're all understanding of what we need to do. Thank you.
Okay. Were there any other questions from the public? Mr. McNally, any more questions from the public, or was that it?
Sorry, I was reading something. That's it.
Okay. So with that, we can move on to the next item.
Item 3 is a resolution adopting the city investment policy.
Okay, is that going to be?
That is also Ina.
Ina? Okay.
Me again. So basically the same story that prefaced the fund balance policy. Investment policy directs the city controller how and where to invest city's funds. Once we're gonna have, they go hand in hand, because we currently don't really have any access funds really subject to extensive investment activity, but once we follow our fund balance policy and will accumulate funds to invest, it will become a very relevant and necessary roadmap to follow in terms of investing city's money. And like it says, it has to be both prudent in terms of taking reasonable level of risk, as well as appropriate in terms of looking for a reasonable level of return. That's about that. One more thing I want to add to that is that the city will be issuing an RFP. It's best practices to issue an RFP for banking services at least every 5 years. So I'm not aware of a banking RFP being issued in the previous 5 years. I did my due diligence, and I know that it hasn't been. So we're going to issue an RFP for banking, and once City Council approves banking institutions that will select as a result of that RFP. We will have to update this investment policy to include names of the institutions into the policy. That's about that.
Okay. Are there any questions from the council?
Yes, I just have one question. Thank you again for this policy, Ina. This again will be reviewed annually by the council, I noted, and that in section 3, it does talk about the fact that all employees directly associated with the investment process will be bonded.
Yeah.
I would like to make sure that the council is aware of that in the annual review and to what amount each employee is bonded.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the council? All right.
I wanted to say about the policies that we're putting forth, because you will be getting more policies over the next probably 2 months. What we do is we've identified all the policies that need to be updated. They're updated in-house, they're reviewed in-house, and then they're sent to CMA. CMA reviews them, and then we make sure that they are applicable to the Government Finance or Officers Association best practice policies. And so that when the policies are approved, what you can say is that we have the best practice throughout the country with the best policy that can be had at that particular time. And so it's important that the public knows that we just don't put things down on paper and say this is a good policy. These policies are vetted very well before we send them to be voted on.
Okay. Hearing no other questions from the council, did we get any questions from the public?
We got one question from Mr. Lester again. So on number 3, you have stated that you're revising and updating the city's investment policy currently in effect, and you have given no information on what the policy currently is in effect and how you are now changing it or the reasons for why it's being changed. Please state those reasons and the changes prior to voting on this. So Ina gave a little bit of an answer. I don't know if you'll want to expound upon it again. It's stated in the body of the original policy, which was last revised in 2015, that on an annual basis, the city shall review the investment policy and shall approve policy revisions, if any, by formal resolution. So that's why it's here. I don't know if she wants to talk a little bit about, the changes that were made or not.
Sure. So basically, there is no our policies, as Donna just mentioned, they have to follow general municipal law and whatever standard the governing accounting bodies set for the government. So unless there is a major change in those governing documents and laws, we are not going to see a major change in the investment policy and something like investment policy. So the kind of and type of securities that are prescribed that we can, as a government, engage in investing in is not something that we actually come up with. It's something those classes of securities, it's something that's allowed to us by law. So, and like I mentioned in my previous in my written answer to John, this is a policy like that. An investment policy has to be reviewed every year, and exactly for that reason, that it has to follow the law. So we basically make sure that if there are any changes in the law that affect the change in the policy, it will be presented in a new revised version. There was no drastic changes in the law, so while we made the changes, and you will see the most major one you will see is the one that talks about the institutions with which the city is allowed to deal with, and that's what when I talked about the RFP and the banking services that will be selected in the next couple of months. That's done.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other questions from the public, or was that it?
No further questions.
Okay, let's move on to the next agenda item.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept a charitable donation and to amend the budget.
Okay.
All right. This is a donation from Amy Innerfield and her family. And the donation is $5,810, and it is to purchase 2 beach wheelchairs for the city. And what we're asking is that the council vote for us to accept the donation. We will order the beach chairs, and I believe one of the beach chairs has been asked to be put at Neptune because they're in honor of their mother, and that is the beach that she enjoyed going to. And if Neptune is not correct, I will correct it, but I think they said it was the beach, it was Neptune that she liked to go to.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
I just have a quick one. First, this is very good. No problems with this, but do we know offhand how many beach chairs we already have that are currently used?
I don't know the exact number. I'll find that out for you. I know there's at least 2 or 3 because I've seen them on the beach, and all you have to do is just call ahead, and the staff will meet the person at the boardwalk, not the boardwalk, I'm sorry, at the ramp to bring them on down.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that we say that Amy and her family, that their mother was Rosalind Innerfield. So that's who this is in honor of. And we really we thank her and her family for such a wonderful donation and her memory.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Were there any questions from the public?
There were none, no.
Okay, then let's move on to the next agenda item.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to issue a purchase order for the supply, transport, and delivery of concrete from the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay, is someone going to be speaking on this one?
That should be Mr. Miranda.
Okay, 1 second. John, I'm going to unmute you. John Miranda, you're unmuted.
Okay, this is our annual contract, which is bid through the purchasing department for our concrete needs when we do concrete repairs in the road, or we do concrete repairs on sidewalks where we've replaced curb stops for the water, or we've done a cut and cap for the sewer. So this is for, or if we have to redo a handicap access ramp. This is, for various small projects throughout the city. Did you get that, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay.
It helps if I unmute myself when I'm trying to ask a question. John, the fees that are in this proposal, are they comparable to what we're currently paying?
I believe so. I have not seen it because this was, like I said, this is a purchasing document. They send it down to us before they send it out. We just review it in terms of the items we need, but I had not seen it yet with the prices, but I believe they're within line.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the council? Did we get any questions from the public?
No questions.
Okay. Then we can move on to item 6.
Item 6 has been added by unanimous consent, and item 6 is a resolution amending the city's agreement for construction of an Office of Emergency Management and to amend the budget. And just a note that both of these items have been put up on the website for people if they want to see the items.
Okay. I'm going to take a guess. This is Mr. Miranda again?
Correct. Am I still unmuted, Dave?
Yes, you're on. Go ahead.
Okay. So during the course of constructing the OEM, obviously, when you reconstruct an old building, you come across things that you're not planning on. As an example, when we removed the doors, there was no lintel to hold up the wall above that, so we had to remove the wall. So this covered about 12 different change orders within the contract. We only issued the purchase order for a certain amount, so we needed to increase the purchase order by $144,000. These change orders were approved by the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery already. The money is available from the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery. So by just approving this, it allows us to then pass this money on to the contractor.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
Has the contractor completed the work?
Yes, the OEM is complete, including the testing of the generator, and just a few things that we're adding in terms of computers and phones and things of that nature, but that's all internal work we're doing.
And Ghoster's, just for the record, so everyone can hear, that Ghoster's completely covering the OEM upstairs.
That's correct. And as a matter of fact, we don't have to lay any money out. They've already given us the money, but because the purchase order is at a certain length, we can't release it yet to the contractor.
Okay, thank you.
And for those of you that aren't acronym savvy, GOSER is the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I apologize.
When you use it every day, day in and day out, you just kind of forget.
It spills.
Okay. Any more questions from the council?
I just have one question. It's not really a question. It's in the second whereas, the second sentence. It says, including but not limited to corridor flooring, AV. I don't know if it's date cables or it should be data cables, but that's the only question I have.
It should be data cables. These were all the different change orders that came up.
Okay, thanks, John. So just to make a note, everybody, whoever does the resolutions, just make it data. Thank you.
You're still on mute, Councilman.
Yeah, gotta keep doing that. So I guess we didn't get any public questions since this was added by unanimous consent. So let's move on to item 7.
Item 7 was also added by unanimous consent, and it is a resolution authorizing the city manager to renew the city's agreements for disaster management response and recovery consulting services.
And I'm going to guess this is John again.
Correct. So over 2 years ago, we have 11, as I reviewed the other night at the work session, we have 11 hazard mitigation projects that are being funded by FEMA. So a little over 2 years ago, we issued an RFP and we awarded to 3 different engineering firms, 3 engineering consulting firms, the work to split up based on the areas of their expertise. And that was Cameron Engineering, LK McLean, and DeVerker and Bartolucci. Those projects are at various stages of completion. Some are in the design stage, some are ready to go out to bid, but the agreement we have with the engineers expired in April. So what we need to do is extend those contracts. It doesn't make any sense to do another RFP and go out for engineers because you wouldn't want to, they'd have to go back to square one and start over these projects. So I had mentioned this the other night that we would be presenting this for approval so that we can continue to work. These projects take a little longer to do. Just to give you an example, we had a $1 million hazard mitigation project for the first floor of City Hall. We had the plans all done, and then the State Office of Historic Preservation came out with a mandate saying that this building was of historical significance and we needed to do a report for SHPO. And so we had to have the consultant do that report before we could move on with the final design. And based on that report, we're waiting to hear from SHPO now changes we have to make to the original design. So it's the kind of things that go back and forth, and there's a lot of back and forth with FEMA and also with the Department of Homeland Security on these projects. So they're taking longer to get done than we anticipated when we first awarded these contracts to these 3 firms. So we think it's in the best interest of the city to just extend those contracts at this point so that we don't lose more time.
Okay, and if these are projects that are being funded by FEMA or whoever, does the renewal usually get picked up, the cost as part of the project?
Correct. Yes, they pay for all the engineering costs. And in addition to that, as I mentioned the other night, they also pay for our staff's costs when we're involved with these various projects, any hours we spend on it.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? Okay, hearing none, I guess we could move on to the voting.
Okay, on to the voting. Start of the calendar. Item 1 is approval of minutes from prior meeting July 8th, 2020. Who will make a motion to approve?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting. Oops. Councilmember Delury.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution adopting the city fund balance policy. Who would you to move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting. Councilmember Delury.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 3 is a resolution adopting the city investment policy. Who would you to move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting. Councilmember Delury.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept a charitable donation and to amend the budget. Who would you to move the adoption of this item?
I will. And I want to, I will.
Okay. Who's second?
I will.
Voting. Councilmember Delury.
I would proudly vote yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Thank you to Amy Innerfield and the Innerfield family. Very generous donation. Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
I am so delighted this is happening. I can't tell you. Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes, I'd also like to thank the Innerfield family. You're going to give beach access to some people that so they can really enjoy their summer. So I vote yes. Thank you very much.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to issue a purchase order for the supply, transport, and delivery of concrete from the lowest responsible bidder. I would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting. Councilmember Delury.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Wrong sheet. Item 6 is a resolution amending the city's agreement for the construction of an Office of Emergency Management and to amend the budget. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Liz. Okay.
Voting. Councilmember Delury.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
And finally, item 7 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to renew the city's agreements for disaster management response and recovery consulting services. Who introduced and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting. Councilmember Delury.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
Don't close yet.
Okay.
I have the answer to the question about the chairs. There are currently 7 wheelchairs available to be used on the beach. Excuse me. We will put on the website exactly where those chairs are, the procedure to get the chairs, and also where all the Moby mats are. Also, I just got a text message. The comfort station at Neptune Boulevard goes in tomorrow by crane. So the road and boardwalk closures will take place early in the morning. That's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. That's about as live update as it gets.
Thank you, Donna.
Phil has an update.
Unmute, Phil.
Bill, go ahead.
There you go.
I'm muted. Sorry, I'm not technologically good. I'm sorry, just really quickly, one last thing. It just popped into my mind and I failed to say it. With everything we're doing, I just want to give an extra special thanks out to our auxiliary police officers.
Yeah.
They are there every weekend on their own time. They are going to be an integral part of the beach closures. They volunteer to do this. I can't tell you what high esteem I hold them in and how hard and how diligent they work for zero pay just because they care about our city. So it popped into my mind. I failed to mention them, and that was terrible on my part. The auxiliary police are terrific. They do a great job under Commissioner Dennis Verzi, Captain Mike Spa, and without them, a lot of things don't get done. And they volunteer. They do this because they care, not for any other reason. So I want everybody to recognize and know our auxiliary police are absolutely the best. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Okay.
Okay. I guess now on to good and welfare.
We have to close.
Wait, so I haven't done a motion to
Sorry.
close.
Sorry. Yeah. Yep.
We'll make a motion to close the meeting.
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delury,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I'm assuming we got good and welfare.
Yes. Questions and responses to the July 7th meeting are posted on the website. This week we got a large number of questions, mostly related to the boardwalk and the beach. We are hopeful that most of those questions were answered with the presentations from Commissioners Orgona and Brand, but we still will respond to each of the questions and post them up on the website as per usual. I will list off the names of the people that have submitted questions, just so everybody feels heard and knows that they were counted and will be responded to. And this is a rather lengthy list, and I will apologize in advance for the number of names that I am about to butcher. But here we go. So Wendy Goldstein, Laura Clarity, Stacy Weinberg, Diana Nappi, Lori Rayner, Joyce Petrosino, Samantha Moore, Deborah Ravener, Dorothy Byrne, Kathy McElroy, Sue Friedman, Colleen Amato, Kira McCrudden, Rachel Shembri, Denise Miro, Liz Curran, Donna Bullwinkle, Lauren Lundquist, Heather Licata, Chrissy, Kim Greengus, Cindy Canterman, Barry Frolinger, Jocelyn Jasper, Alex Zuckerman, Kelly Martinson, Stephanie Harris, Mary Coleman, Elliot Pasick, Brendan Finn, Brian Ross, Scott Nobler, Daniel Lamachi, James Hardy, Lisa Valencia, Jocelyn Tobia, Lauren Moriarty. And then there was other questions asked by Lisa Santinos, Marie Brutus, Non Quid Pro Quo, Matthew Nicholas, Amy Potter, Kira McCruden, Thomas Kennedy, Tracy Eichler, Elizabeth Farrell, David Palpatine, Karen Deenan, Teresa Paggi, Alan Smythe, Non Quid Pro Quo again, Albert Albuquerque, Roy Lester, and Andrea Loguidisi. And so we will respond to each of those questions and post them on the website in advance of the next meeting.
Okay. So with that, I guess, thanks for joining us tonight, folks. Everyone have a good night and keep enjoying the summer. So take care.
Fill out your census.
And we can't leave without letting Liz remind everyone to fill out your census.
Thank you.
Okay, and everyone have a good night.
Well, good night.
Good night.
Safe.